I am ready whenever you guys are.
So just as a review, I think what we've said is that we agree to your D and E under compensation. And we also agreed to the HSA portion of the medical. And we've agreed to drop the additional or the additional charges, not all of them we do. And the item B under language adjustments. And you've agreed to A, B, and C. Is that correct? So that's where we're at. And Stu is going to walk you through the compensation piece.
Yes, and it says confidential at the top. That's just for me to remember. There's no secrets about it, but I'll do my best. And I will tell you as I hand this to you that these are all approximate. They are not with a fine-tooth comb, but it is a very good estimate. I have found over the years it's a very close estimate to what financially we are. So, and I'll do a couple of these copies here for you. So, essentially, start with the top here. So, certified salary, and you can see right now, at least projected wise, and I say this is projected, we are anywhere from $152,000 to $182,000 of new general fund money. That is based on the addition from our, as you know, the funding formula that was set up that increases about $170 a year. So that's based on that from our, what would be our fall and spring audit from KSDE of our head count. So I would err on the side, you know, as you plan on budgeting, is to be on the lower side of 182, so probably about 152, to give you a little wiggle room. So would you look at it certified salary? We would propose $500 on the base. That would be approximately $61,000 of that money. Classified wages, it would be a 25-cent raise. We had 2 new staff hires, high school social studies, as well as a virtual position. We are going to, or at least anticipate, a SPED assessment increase of $25,000. Insurance increase, property casualty, of $26,000. The certified movement, so teachers, step and movement will cost $86,000 combined. And like I said, those are approximate depending on where the new hires come in on there. And then admin and coordinator raises. So our total cost, looking at what we have dollar figures, just looking at that is about $369,000. Okay, and we know that the 152 is not half of that. But you, as you well know, we have some savings from staffing, meaning we hire people at a lower rate than people left. We also, at this point, don't anticipate filling 2 positions at the grade school, as well as a part-time position or a half-time position, which equals about $200,000. So with our general fund at 152 new general fund dollars, as well as our savings, we get about 352. Because we want to pass those savings on to you when at all possible from our changes in staffing, as well as our decrease, because we know that's where we want that money to go. And so that total ends up being approximately $352,000, which does not quite equal the total cost, but we know that hopefully there'll be some potential wiggle room between 369 and 352.
How many admin and coordinator positions is that?
We have, I think I figured approximately between our building admin and our coordinators, I figured roughly 30. I could be wrong, but we figured roughly 30 on that. That would represent a 2% raise for that. So if you're looking at percent, I just had Ms. Shanks running, what would it be for a 2% raise? Any questions that you have on that? So our step down is $700. So just, if I didn't take any extra college classes and I'm able to step down, you're looking at a bare minimum of $1,200 raise for a certified staff member. That's at a minimum.
As I said, not all the steps stuck at the same amount.
And I figure roughly $700 it ends up being for those that may be stepped out or that those that are, coming in at a lower step. So like I said, these are rough estimates, but they're usually pretty ballparks. Would you guys like to take a minute to caucus together?
Are you guys gonna address any of the other items on the letters?
Sure. We can do that as well.
Absolutely. First, as I'll talk, I noticed on your letter, and I don't know necessarily how to address it, but you say provide compensation for additional time spent on necessary preparations during the 2021-22 school year. 2020 to 2021 school year. Were you targeting that at ESSER dollars?
No, not necessarily.
So just an extra technical bonus on top of a raise?
Basically just a retention to keep like our best teachers, in our district right now, for all the work that they've done.
It is
And
good.
instead of continuing on path of losing teachers, something to encourage them that, hey, the work we did was worth something, beyond just our time and all the gray hairs that we got.
Sure. It has been, last year was an
I
incredible
had black
hard
hair
year.
when it started.
I know.
Incredible hard year for staff members, teachers, custodians, bus
Yeah.
drivers, administrators. Everybody was asked to do more with less. So I just wanted to clear that up. I didn't know. And then we were talking about, did you want to talk about item C under your reduction of enrollment fees for dependents for teachers? Okay, so I'm going to preface this by saying, I also have 3 students in our building. I also understand it's tough for teachers and enrollment fees are tough. The one thing I would say is when the board negotiates, they want to try and look for the ways that they can affect the most teachers equally and fairly. And this will certainly affect those that have students in our building, may not affect those who do not have students in our building. The other thing I would speak to, just as far as perception goes, our fees are our fees. It's tough to explain that to parents. Hey, so-and-so, hey, they get a fee reduction because they teach here, but you may be a cook, a custodian, bus driver, any number of people, and so it continue to be a slippery slope as we go down there. So that would be my thought on fees and that reduction of fees as we look at that.
Angie, I think Mallory had some more
Yeah. well,
information on that.
We'll probably have to discuss that a little bit more, but I mean, at a minimum, teachers are paying approximately $200. If our kids aren't in anything, doing anything. I mean, that takes away from the overall salary. This,
What do you mean by pay a minimum of 200?
like, to enroll my kids,
Gotcha.
like, in district, it's a minimum of almost 200 per kid.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so by that means we're already reducing this,
And being, we're one of the lowest in the whole.
you know.
Did the fees go up this year?
I'm not sure, but I paid $100 last year for activity fee for my kids to go to sports,
And then
sporting events.
Pay when they got there.
This is an addition on the base of what you got last year. So if we didn't raise fees, it shouldn't affect what's going on the base.
I believe fees went up. Did they go up last year?
Yes.
Maybe last year.
I think they went up last
$5
year.
or $10.
Yeah.
per kid. And I
For
think
teachers,
I can
so.
appreciate that. I know that, so my wife is a teacher in another district, and she worked hard this past year, but we paid $400 and some to enroll our kids last week here. So we know that's definitely a hardship, but it's unfortunately something that we agreed to pay.
I mean, a 2% raise essentially becomes 1% very quickly. Because when you look at additional costs, like to play a sport, I easily paid $200 a sport for my kid to play a sport. By the time I bought a very specific shirt, I paid for meals, I paid, for different fundraisers and things like that. I mean, 1 year, just one child by the end of the year to do activities and enrollment fees, I was up to $1,000.
But again, is that any different than our parents? Like,
I'm just saying
Yeah.
that it's gotten very expensive to send our kids to school.
We're talking trying to retain staff. We have staff members, we had 14 certified teachers leave this last year to some higher paying districts and some that have been here for 20 plus years.
They either left for higher paying or left the professional.
So we're
Or
trying
left
to
because
get
their
incentives.
spouse moved someplace.
Some
Let's not go
Some,
all-
we didn't say all of them,
Well,
but there's
so let's be
quite a
clear.
few that left.
Yeah, we're trying to retain quality teachers. So incentives, if the increase here, is 500, then we're trying to look for other incentives to retain employees instead of hiring new staff every year. It seems like we're getting at this point where it's like, we can hire new staff. It'll be okay.
I don't think that's the motive.
So
Okay,
we want to retain our staff versus,
And this is certainly a fringe benefit, but it may not incentivize people to stay if they're leaving for a higher paying job.
we're one of the
Especially-
lowest paid districts in the county. So
But essentially, though, if I don't have kids that would utilize this fringe benefit,
then they didn't lose the money to begin with in their raise.
right, but there's that doesn't incentivize them to want to stay because of this fringe
What was
benefit.
our numbers for employee children? I know the elementary school was in the 60s. We had 60 students.
we had 30-some class.
So we have 100 plus students of staff members, plus some that were on the fence on whether they were coming or not. And I know a couple are going to Olathe now. So keeping seats in our district is making money for the district as well.
Sure.
It's true that not every teacher has children, but not every teacher takes health insurance either. And I lose that money if I don't take health insurance. So that's not a benefit that I receive in any way, right?
I agree.
And I tried to
And
take the
so,
insurance and they won't.
I mean, I don't get,
I think the difference there, the distinction there is that it is a benefit offered to all to use if they want. That would be the difference.
But it's-
We couldn't offer a reduction in fees to all of our staff, because not all of our staff have kids.
Continue to go to that.
So I definitely can understand the thought behind that, and can definitely appreciate we're trying to retain folks, and we definitely want to create a package, and we know we are not at where we need to be from a salary standpoint. I think everybody recognizes it, but there are financial factors that come into play with that, and we're trying to get it to where it is, but it's it's hard to say, and it'd be $40,000 some in fees, $30,000 to $40,000 potentially, depending on how far down the line we take that. Is it just for teachers' children? Is it for bus drivers' children? Is it for, and it gets pretty expensive for sure.
You guys have to take it as far as you would like. Unfortunately, I can only talk about teachers.
Sure, and we understand that. And you are here to bargain for the teachers.
Yeah.
We have to keep in mind the entire district. And so if we offer this as a fringe to just certified staff, we then would want to offer that to all staff, which would greatly increase that cost.
So, is that the only other things that we have on there? What about health insurance? Did we come to any decisions on health insurance?
It was accepted at the last board
Mhm.
meeting, and actually it stayed pretty much neutral. They decided to go with Blue Cross Blue Shield. And we stuck with Aetna, I want to say, for the vision, which.
We're changing to Aetna, which will be a
changing to Aetna,
decrease.
Which went down about 21%, which out of the total vision package is not. I mean,
Yeah.
it's fairly cheap, but in a year where you didn't know what was going to happen with insurance, they went with Blue Cross and Blue Shield by a vote of 1. That's good.
It was a crazy day.
And so we at this point, the district does not plan on offering any more to that besides what they currently offer. So, which won't be, I mean, what shouldn't affect teachers as much as their rates.
It actually went down a little. They came back at 0.2, 0.8, 0.8
Yeah, I thought it
decrease,
was.
which was good that we were able to get competitive with that.
5% we were knocking.
Oh.
Someone walked through, but I think it was a lady that's
At least we know they have a key. At least we know they have a key.
Yeah.
So do you have a breakdown of how much those plans were?
No, Blue Cross was keeping Amy on the hook on getting back to her. So
And it's already done. and voted on
Yeah.
by the board after the recommendation from the committee. So
the plans will be the same.
Essentially
It's the same plans. It's just the new rates, which she didn't have in time to get us on paper for that vote. I really felt good about the insurance committee. I think we have a group of people who really, since we were looking at potentially switching, understanding the health insurance needs of our staff and certified and classified. And I think that group moving forward can, feel versed in making those choices. So.
I think it's got a good perspective on the committee of broader people than just maybe an Amy or 3 people deciding. The more people that vote on it. I think there was 11 total
Mm-hmm.
on the committee, so that's a good representation.
Yeah, we were able to get a couple in on Zoom, so that was kind of nice that we could have options and get classified staff in. It was good. Can I ask a question about another thing on here? This is probably something I should know, but SPED assessment, why does that not come out of co-op? Why is that our portion?
We have a portion of that. We have what's considered flow-through money that we
Okay.
get straight from the state.
Right,
That goes straight to the SPED.
right.
But our assessment of being part of that cooperative goes up generally every year.
The assessment of being part of the cooperative, can you explain that? Sorry.
Okay, so there's 3 schools
Yeah.
in that cooperative, and they all have to pay a portion to be a part of it.
Okay.
And so beyond what we pay last year,
Mhm.
there's gonna be a $25,000 increase this year because of their raises.
Right.
Of their needs, resource utilization.
So it's not an assessment of students, like we're using the
No,
word
but
assessment
it's
in a
an
weird way.
assessment
Okay.
of how much money we have
we owe for
Yeah,
being part of the co-op. Gotcha.
Membership,
Yeah, membership dues.
membership assessments.
What we get from this state just flows straight through.
Right.
Unfortunately, what Wellsville, Baldwin, Eudora gets is not enough to
No.
cover
Yeah.
everything that goes into that. So it's actually a little bit of back and forth with the co-op to try to limit their expenses some,
Yeah.
just so it doesn't. There's been times in the past when there hasn't been any increase.
Okay.
So there hasn't been any, but the last several years, the funding hasn't kept up with the
Yeah.
expenses. And so.
So do they assess the same amount for each school?
It's
Does
a
each school pay the
percentage.
same?
It's a-
I think we are the biggest percentage because we have the biggest
I would think.
population of students. But yeah, I want to say we're 45% or something like that. So they needed an additional, say, 70,000 to meet whatever. And so that assessment of 70,000 gets divided by the percentage of services. So ours is.
But they won't,
25.
didn't Mike say they won't start negotiations for their contract until we're done?
Right.
So how do they know, how do they anticipate?
Because this is just based on what their budget says that their cost is gonna go up.
Okay.
So, I mean, we know that we'll contribute at least $25,000 in addition to hoping that they don't need more money in the
Okay.
middle of the school year.
Gotcha.
So, which does happen very, very seldom, but it does happen.
Thank you. The whole, how we function with the co-op, I'm still trying to wrap my brain around, so it helps to hear it. Thank you. And the new hires, so the virtual new hires, can you tell me about what that encompasses exactly?
It's the director of our virtual
Okay.
school.
So will she will be under a certified position, or, because I know when she was looking for it to transfer, she's kind of like, oh,
That's
is that admin or is it?
It
certified?
will be kind of an admin. She will still teach one class
Oh.
at the high school, but that will be our virtual. So she'll be in charge of both our virtual learning and our alternative school that's housed here at West.
Right.
So
And then she has an aide or is that a classified position?
that
Or
would be,
teacher.
I believe that will be a classified position.
Okay.
Right? So, and then the additional high school social studies teacher.
Right.
So is the aid, does that come through SPED or
No,
does that come through the district?
that will
Is it
come
hired by the
Yeah,
district?
that will come through the district.
Do you know by chance what portion of her contract will be admin and what's certified?
Not at this time.
Just wasn't, we were just had been kind of interested in bargaining her contract and if, you know, how that kind of hybrid works.
And you said we did not hire two?
I believe there's 2 teachers at the elementary that you didn't rehire back.
Well, we didn't fill.
Right,
Is what you mean,
fill, but rehire meaning you didn't replace that. And I believe that was just due to what the projected numbers need. I believe it was 5th grade, and I want to say kindergarten. I could be wrong.
One was fifth.
And so,
Kindergarten,
I mean,
yeah.
They just
It's
didn't
down to
fill the
7.
positions, and then the halftime building trades that closed late. So that represents some savings there that we want to pass along. Plus, we know that we had some teachers that we hired that were a little under. We had a few that they trended mainly lower, compared to the people that left. There was a few that were a little bit higher, but once again, we tried to pass that along to teachers as well.
So at the elementary school, if numbers increase in the projected future, are we just going to add those positions back?
That's
Is
the
that
fear
kind
with
of the back and forth of that one?
So that's the fear with giving away, and I don't want to say giving away, but using that money budgetarily. We could hold on to it for a year, but then that represents not giving it back to our teachers, And if you're going to not refill a position, we'd rather see that go to our employees than hold off on what if. So,
And the hope would be if we had an ad, obviously we had more enrollment, so that might help cover some of that cost.
I don't have it in front of me, but the classified raises, is that about what it usually is or what's the history of that?
I can look that up.
I guess it's not necessarily pertinent to discuss now. I was just curious.
It's pretty close to what we've always done. Typically, what we as a board have asked Steve and now Stu is that whatever we decide for the certified, we want to try to make that as even for for the rest of our folks, so that's usually right about in that, in this case, about that 2% range.
I'm telling you, I have a paper.
I'm sure you have it.
2017
Mhm.
negotiation.
I can beat you on that.
Well,
Actually, I can't, I'm gonna keep them from that.
there you go.
I would
So
have
now
it.
really, it's all up there.
28 years ago.
I don't have.
And property casualty is our insurance for our buildings. Okay.
Yes, that was not something we wanted to see.
I feel like I heard that on a line item, but at some point when I'm listening to board meetings and trying to learn what all of the things mean. It was great to hear the track accolades, though. That was really wonderful.
Yeah.
It was exciting stuff.
It's in the.
Have we increased the amount of classified staff that we have? Have we increased the number over the years?
Oh,
Like the numbers
Oh, I'm
of,
sure.
maybe what, from last year, did we, let's say last year, did we, how many did we increase classified?
I couldn't tell you.
I wouldn't think it would be significant.
We had a position. The director position. Is that an add or replacement? Which Brian's? Not as good.
Right there,
Courtney.
the 2020.
The guy that hired us. Chuck. Chuck.
Oh, right, yeah.
Is that an add
So
or is
that
that?
had an ostrich.
Yeah.
No, we had our
It wasn't an add.
HVAC gentleman.
That's right, yeah, that's right. It was, yeah. Just a reorg.
So is this, looking at these dollars, is something like you'd like to go visit about? Is this something you'd like to take to all your members? I'll share this with
I
them.
think we for sure want to talk for just a minute together.
Yeah, we can.
Do that.
One of the things we also worked out, and I'll show you kind of where this came from too. So I've got a letter for you. We'll share with staff. And this is because it is ESSER dollars, it is, there's a little history behind it. So I'll share that. Up to about a month ago, maybe a little bit more, maybe 6 weeks, we were told that, as you know, ESSER dollars could only be spent in certain ways, 15 different ways. And that just giving somebody a gift or a prize or a thank you for your hard work was not counted. However, Dr. Watson surprised us all when he got info from the feds, and there was a new tab called premium pay. So with premium pay, you're able to pay for work going forward, not just back pay work that's already happened. So not as a reimbursement. So essentially, wanting to put a dollar figure to something that we could actually manage and have a formula for certified staff, we basically looked at the amount of weeks in the school calendar at 40 weeks and gave an additional hour a week, which is 40 hours, considered premium pay. And then based on USC 491 supplemental salary schedule, the negotiated agreement for teachers to receive an additional $33.89 for curriculum work. So if we asked you to come in and do curriculum work, which is the highest on that scale, we would pay you $33.89 outside your normal contract day, which is based on MS plus row 10. And that $33.89 will go up if whatever happens to the base. Obviously that would increase a little bit. So that's just what the number is now. So we took 40 times that. And so each certified staff member would receive a one-time payment of 1355.60 on or before November 15th as supplemental payroll. So it would be I want to call it a bonus check. It would be a extra check. All deductions will be taken out from a one-time check to meet federal and state payroll taxes. So what we did, instead of just saying, okay, it's 50, we get $15 an hour for extra duty, we wanted to give you the highest that we could still tie it to a tangible number. And then multiply that times 40 weeks and came up with that number. And the reason the date is November 15th, to try and run it through a August payroll or a September payroll will be tough. What we will have to do is we will have to request that from a KSDE committee that then will go to the state board, and then they will sign off on that as premium pay. And so on or before November 15th, every teacher will have that check minus their any sort of deductions for payroll. So, and I shouldn't say payroll, but your taxes, state and federal. And then for classified staff, we did 50 cents an hour looking at their calendar. And now theirs is based on what their contract is. So if they're a halftime employee, it's 4 hours. If they're an 8-hour employee, it's 8 hours. So the board recognizes and wants to understand, or and acknowledges the sacrifice, hard work, and dedication, and want to award our staff anticipation of a great year. And the key is anticipation of going forward this year. So all staff member this year. So if you're a new employee or however long, will get that. So, and then, like you said, here's just how we accounted for that. This will come out of our ESSER dollars. ESSER is one-time dollars. So that's why it is a one-time check. This represents approximately a quarter of our ESSER $3, which is 1.2 million. So, and the reason you don't put ESSER dollars towards the base at all is because obviously it's a saving account, not a perpetual money. So any questions on that? We just wanted to tie it to tangible numbers so that we'd have something to discuss. So, and if you wouldn't mind sharing that with your employees, I mean, I think that they know that's kind of what we're looking at down that road as well.
So the board has written this up to agree to do this.
Yes.
So even new employees coming in,
It has to be for employees this
Going
year.
forward.
It's for this year's work.
That's part of the challenge, and part of what we looked at was how do you reward 2021, and the language stipulates that we cannot. It has to be looking forward towards maybe it's whatever that is. It needs to be addressed as though work comes.
And we know that this is going to be a different year compared to 2017. There's going to be some different challenges as we go. So the board thinks that it would be important to acknowledge that and reward that. So.
all right. I think we can visit for a minute.
Sounds good.
Can't remember.
All right. Thanks for all the information. It's good to have it at hand. We would like just a little bit more time to kind of go through it, but also a couple of our other team members that aren't here tonight to visit with them. We are available Monday night, and we would very much hope that Monday night, that would be the resolution to the process, if it works 6 o'clock for you guys.
I'm glad we set it up this way so that you guys have
Yeah.
a time frame to get it. Monday at 6 will be perfect for us. We've all cleared our schedules for that.
Okay.
We can do it in here. I think West is kind of, or 108's a little busy with building parents for teachers.
Oh, okay.
But we can certainly
Yeah,
have more
there's-
chairs ready if you have more members who are in attendance. So
Okay.
And we were thinking, I don't know if it'll be open, but we might meet. Well, I guess we don't know for sure. We were thinking we might meet early with our team if that's the best time. Come at 5 or something.
Sure, yeah, because if we're here, we'll be in our office. So
Okay.
I don't anticipate Monday night that we'll have any meetings.
Okay.
We have a meeting Thursday, a very quick board meeting, and then another meeting Thursday after for a work session. So
Okay.
and if you, between now and then, if you have questions, give me a shout,
Okay.
and we can kind of go from there. So
I think that worked. Thank you
thank you very much for your
guys.
time.
Thanks.
I didn't catch your name.
I'm Michelle.
Oh.
Michelle? Stu, well, we jumped right into this thing.
Sorry.
So, I've met Angie already.